Hello traders, this is Msputoptions and my website is www.msputoptions.com where I show you how to collect premiums on stocks you don't even own by selling put options. That's right. You will be able to collect premiums on stocks you don't even own by selling put options. So today's topic is we're going to be talking about the Greeks. There are actually 5 Greeks, but we're only going to be talking about 4 of the Greeks. We have the Delta, we have the gamma, we have the theta, we have the vega, and we have the rho. We will not be talking about the rho because rho pretty much deals with interest rates, and rho is more geared towards if you're going to place a leap option, which we're not going to be doing, and we're not going to be discussing leap options today. My website can be best accessed through Internet Explorer and not Google Chrome. I repeat, if you go to www.misputoptions.com, you will only be able to access it through Internet Explorer and not Google Chrome. All right, so let's move on. Like I mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about the Greeks, and I am Miss Put Options. My website is www.missputoptions.com, and we're going to pretend that we're going to actually place this trade with Tesla. The ticker symbol for Tesla is TSLA. We sold 10 contracts. It is a naked put, April 2014. Our strike price is 170. We already said it's a put option, and we're hypothetically pretending that we placed this trade on 4/16/2014, and we collected 0.695 cents. Now, anybody who doesn't know anything about options will look at this 0.695 cents and will probably laugh, but anybody that's a student of mine or is a former student or a present student will know that this is some good premium to collect on this particular naked trade. All right, but not going to get into the math with you guys right now. If you want to know more, there is my website www.missputoptions.com where you can access it better through Internet Explorer and not Google Chrome. So let's get on with the Greek's explanation. Okay, the first Greek we're going to be talking about is going to be delta. Before we start talking about delta, let's look at a couple of things. We're looking at the options chain here. Like I said, this is a hypothetical trade. We're looking at the Analyze tab. We're going to the Think Back area. We type in Tesla, and we go back here in time to 4/16/2014. And to tell you the truth, today is actually 4/19/2014. Today is Saturday. On yesterday, the market was closed because it was Good Friday. And so on Sunday, it's going to actually be Easter. So this is a 3-day weekend. This is another reason why I'm posting this particular video, because I'm attempting to explain to you what happens over a 3-day weekend. Number one, time decay eats up your it eats up time decay eats up your option, and it's more or less to your benefit when you have time decay on your side when you're selling a put option. You're going to have to take my classes in order to understand what time decay, but basically when you have a 3-day weekend, time decay can be your friend. Now, let's talk about delta. First of all, the explanation of delta, it represents the rate of change between the options price and the underlying asset price. In other words, it's the price sensitivity. So put options delta are always negative. The reason why I'm talking about put options, number one, hence my website name is Msputoptions.com, which means I mainly deal with put options, and I mainly deal with bull put vertical spreads. And the reason why I do that is because I enjoy collecting credits. When you're dealing with bull put credit spreads, you're dealing with credits, collecting on premiums on stocks that you don't even own. So we're looking at an options chain. We're looking at a put option. We have 9 days until expiration. It is April 2014. We have 100 shares. This is a weekly option, and we're going to concentrate on the 170 strike price. We have our bid, we have our ask price, and we're looking at our delta. If you can see here, our delta is a negative 0.07. So let's look down here at the explanation here. So if our delta equals a negative zero point zero 0.07, and we already said that when we're dealing with put options that the delta is always going to be negative, with put options, regardless if the stock moves up or down by $1, for example, we already know that Tesla closed at $199.11. So, regardless if the stock moves up to $200.11 or down to $198.11, and this is supposed to be 2. Made a typo there. All right. Okay, that one act right. Okay. So, regardless if it moves up to $211 or down to $198.11, delta by moving up or down will be still it will remain a negative zero point zero 0.07, and that negative zero point zero 0.07 equals a negative $7. So your delta is always negative when you're dealing with put options. When you're dealing with call options, that's a different story, but we're not going to get into that right now. So just understand that this negative zero point zero 0.07 is actually a negative $7. So even before you place this trade, you have to understand that that's a possibility that you're going to lose $7 right off the bat. All right, so that's why I'm explaining this, because a lot of people are a little confused on how the Greeks works, but I'm going to explain this to the best of my ability so you'll be able to understand. Now, let's move on. The next one we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about delta again, but however, along with delta, we're going to throw in gamma. So we already explained that delta, when we're looking at put options, is always going to be a negative number, but when we're talking about delta, you can't talk about delta without talking about gamma. Okay, and still we're looking at our 170 strike price. We're looking at the put side. We already explained about the delta and how our delta is a negative zero point zero 0.07, which is a negative $7. Now let's talk about the gamma. Let's look at the definition over here of gamma. Gamma represents the rate of change between the options portfolio delta and the underlying asset price. In other words, it's second order time price sensitivity. So you're saying misput options, that is a mouthful. Exactly what does that mean? What that means is, as you can see here, our delta is point. It's a positive 0.01. So if Tesla moves up or down from $199.11, which we already said it closed at, if it moved up or down to $200.11 or down to $198.11, then you would gain or lose $1 just looking at the gamma. You would gain or lose $1 just by looking at the gamma. But let's see how gamma affects delta. However, it also changes the delta by an additional $1 up or down, making delta move from either, now we said our delta was a negative zero point zero 0.07. So if gamma affects delta and the underlying stock moves up or down by $1, then that makes our delta move up or down by $1 as well, but it's going to either be a negative $6 or a negative $8, but it's still going to be a negative number. So this is why we have to talk about gamma and delta together, because they work in conjunction with each other. All right, so right off the bat, you have to kind of do a little math before you actually place the trades to figure out if it's going to be beneficial for you, to figure out if you're going to be in a losing trade right when you get in it, by looking at these particular numbers. And you also have to remember that you have 9 days until expiration, so you have to do a little calculation to determine if where you going to be 9 days from now, where you going to be 5 days from now, the halfway point, when you place this trade. That's why it's very important that you understand the Greeks. Okay, so let's move on here. We're going to be talking about, we're still talking about Tesla. Tesla closed at $199.11. We're looking at the options chain, the analyze area, the think back. And we're on 4/16/2014. I already told you that on yesterday was Good Friday. Today is Saturday. It is 4/19/2014, and it is going to be Easter Sunday on tomorrow. So, Theta. Let's talk about theta. Let's talk about the definition. It represents the rate of change between the options portfolio and time sensitivity. So money lost with each day that passes. That's basically what theta is. Regardless of how the trade is going, with each day that passes, you're going to lose money when you're looking at the theta. So let's look at theta here. Theta is a negative 0.15. So, looking at theta, theta is a negative 0.15. This means that with each passage of a day, your option will lose $15. And the reason why I'm explaining this trade to you, because this happens to be a 3-day weekend. So if we're saying every day you're going to lose $15, if you take that $15 and you times that by 3 days, because remember the stock market was closed on Friday, so you already lost $15 on that Friday, and then you have the weekend, which is Saturday and Sunday, you're going to lose $45. You're going to lose $45 in a 3-day weekend if you place this particular trade. I'm not saying it's a good thing, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. What I'm saying is it's a math thing. You have to do your math when you're placing these particular trades, and you have to look at your Greeks, okay? So, let's move on. Now, the last one we're going to be talking about is Vega, and Vega represents the change between an options portfolio value and the underlying assets related to the volatility. In other words, the sensitivity to the stock's volatility. So, we've already talked about that we're looking at our $170 strike price, the bid and the ask. We pretty much know what that is, especially if you're taking my classes. If you're a present student or a former student, you already know about the bid and the ask. We already know about the delta. We know about how gamma affects delta. We already know that with each day that passes, you're going to lose $15 looking at Vega in this particular strike price. Now we're going to also talk about Vega. So Vega equals 0.04. So if volatility moves up or down by 1%, then this will cause your option to lose or gain $4. Since our Vega is 0.04, if volatility moves up or down by 1%, that either means you're going to lose or gain $4 when you're looking at this particular stock in this particular strike price. Now, from this point on, I've got a little good news and I got a little bad news. Now, let's look at the news. It says here, big as they. This is the end unless you're a current student or a former student of Msputoptions.com. However, there at the bottom it says this video will continue for my current or former students only. Sorry. Alright? So it's only fair to my students that I give them a full explanation of how the Greeks work. Now, if you want to know more about my website, there you go again. You can contact me via email at msputoptions@gmail.com, or you can visit my website at www.msputoptions.com, where I show you how to collect premiums on stocks you don't even own by selling put options. And believe me, people, this is how Susie Orman and Warren Buffett make their money, okay, through selling put options. Warren Buffett pretty much buys stocks because he has that type of money, but Susie Orman will tell you that this is how she initially started making her money through selling put options, okay? So if you're not a former student of mine or if you're not a present student of mine, I will have to stop the video at this point, and I'm so sorry, but you're welcome to visit my website at www.msputoptions.com.